Hey, what's going on, guys? So I want to show you guys my new gaming PC build that I'm doing right now. So the current PC I'm running right now is super old. Actually, everything in here is like about 7 years old in terms of the release date. The only newer thing would be the video card, which is the 1080 Ti. Even that is getting outdated, but still, it's a great video card. So I would say it's fairly good for gaming for the most part. But the one thing that's lacking is rendering videos, especially 4K videos. So I wanted to build this new computer build so I can handle better editing and also streaming eventually, and also gaming if I want to. But the gaming side is actually fairly decent already on my old computer. So I decided to go with the Thermaltake Core P3 open frame case. It comes in 3 different colors. Decided to go with white. So let's talk about some of the parts that will go into this computer build. So I have some Corsair RGB fans laying around from my old computer setup. It was just really dirty and dusty. Went ahead and grabbed those, dusted it out, and I'm going to put this on the radiator that's going to go with this. This is the EKWB radiator. This is the PE 360 millimeter radiator. So I made a pretty big order from EK, from tubing, fittings, water blocks, all that kind of stuff to put this build together. Also, I'm going to link a lot of this in the description below, in just in case if you guys are interested in making the same build here. The CPU I'm going with is the AMD Ryzen 9 3950X. The RAM I went with G-Skill RGB Neo. Of course, I got a SSD hard drive. For the motherboard, I'm going with the Crosshair Hero 8 Wi-Fi. So there's 2 new things in this build that I've never done before. The first thing is the mono water block. So with the water block, I've never actually had one, specifically built for this motherboard. So I took my time taking it apart and making sure, I applied thermal paste correctly, the fittings and everything. And all I have to say is the water block is like, it's like a sheet of metal. The thing is so heavy. And it's built really well. So far with all the EKWB parts, everything is high quality. And the shipping was actually pretty fast, especially since it's like overseas. And for the video card, I got the 2080 Ti. Luckily, I was able to find this video card with the EK water block, so it was used, but the price for the water block and the video card was a lot cheaper than actually just getting a new card new and buying the water block new and installing it yourself. So with this case, you have the option of mounting the video card traditionally on the motherboard, or you have the option to mount it kind of the back facing you. Especially if you have a water block on the card, it would actually show really nicely. So I decided to do that method. The one thing I don't like about this is the video card is super heavy, so it sags on one end, and in order to keep this kind of straight until I can actually get the hard tubing, in place, I put like a plastic like lid on here so it can kind of prop it upwards. So with the water pump, I went with the EK 250 Classic. Now, the one thing with the case is it has a little section where the water pump can actually sit, but the water pump mounting brackets is supposed to mount to a fan, and there's no fan that sits there. And there's also that little section that it sits on isn't big enough for a 120 millimeter fan, so I can't really install those brackets on there. So I had to figure out how to mount this water block onto that section. Luckily, I was able to reuse 2 of the brackets that came from the video card slot on the case. It's these metal brackets that kind of just screw in to kind of hide it. I clipped a bunch of like extra holes in there, mounted it in with like a nut and a screw, and it held it in place. So it looks like it's gonna work. So for the fittings, I went with the EK fitting because they have these color rings that you can add on to the fittings to kind of do a little extra color pop to them. Decided to go with purple as the purple theme, so white and purple. I think that would be pretty nice. There's not a lot of people that actually do that in terms of the color build scheme, so I think this would be pretty nice. So I wasn't going to plan on adding these extra SSD onto the motherboard, so the M2 SSDs. Last minute, I decided to go ahead and put them in there just because, it's sleek, it's in there, and I can have the 4 terabyte SSD as kind of like a backup in the back, and I probably won't have to add any more SSD, for a while. So with the M2s, I went with the 1 terabyte Samsung. They have 2 slots in this motherboard that you can actually fit them in. Alright guys, and this is part 1 of the build so far. I'm actually still waiting on parts to come in so I can actually cut the pipe and bend it and all that stuff. Hopefully it comes in sometime next week. I'll probably do the bending, throughout the week. And then possibly do a test fill, make sure everything is good, and then kind of go from there. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, make sure you guys subscribe. And like always, until next one, guys, peace.